Hello everybody and welcome to Detroit for the 6th round of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here in Season 11. It's going to be a battle in Belle here today where the walls are going to be more of a challenge than the opponents for these drivers out here today. A very, very difficult circuit ahead and many cars for us to enjoy as well. The tension will be building among them. Qualifying is ongoing at the moment, and my name's Ian O'Leary. I'll be alongside Steve Proudly for this one. A tight and twisty circuit here today, Steve, but 60 minutes on the menu, and we're looking forward to this one. It's going to be a very, very different race to what we've seen so far in our only street race of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really challenging tonight, Ewan. I think the streets and the walls, they're going to take their toll on these guys this evening. We've seen a few incidents and accidents in previous rounds, but Belle, I think it throws up its own challenges, as you say, as a street circuit. With the concrete walls, I think there's going to be a few more incidents tonight, and I think caution is going to be key, especially when the LMP2s are coming round to pass the GT cars. It's going to be difficult tonight, Ewan.
It certainly is, and not least because there's about 30 of those GT cars for them to negotiate. As you can see there, 3.76 kilometres, 14 turns for them to tackle today. And by the way, one of the very few places in the world where you can say the Canadian border is south of you, because it's a strange place, Detroit. It's the border comes around in a weird way, but there you are. It's our only street race of the year, as I mentioned, and also it's the first time we've ever ran this circuit on the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, excuse me. We've had 11 seasons. This is the 11th season, and finally it is on the calendar. And I don't think everybody's going to be particularly glad about that. We actually did have 2 street circuits initially on this calendar, but we've removed Long Beach next week, which has also been moved forward, by the way. You should probably know that. But yeah, we're going to Watkins Glen instead, and that's probably a good idea. In all honesty, Long Beach is, I would say, even tighter and even more difficult than this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the nature of the street circuits, isn't it? There's just absolutely no runoff. It's difficult to get out of the way. You are on the track, you are on the circuit. You cannot pull off to the side. And if you do end up misjudging something, you're going to collect a wall. So we're going to have to see a lot of respect this evening. We hope to see that, and we hope to have a trouble-free race. But the odds are stacked against the drivers, and I think that's not down to the fact of the skill of the drivers. It is just the nature of a street circuit. It is going to be tough, and it's going to be, as you said, mega busy out there tonight. There's going to be a few guys, as we've seen in the last few rounds, we've seen a few guys struggle to score the points that they need, that we expect them to score. So I think, there's going to be a few drivers looking to redeem themselves and try and get some good finishes, because as I say, they just need to get some solid finishes, score some consistent points, because it's all about the championship at the end of the day, and we are getting through the rounds.
Yeah, we are, absolutely. And speaking of the championship standings, we'll have a look at them just as we go through towards the end of qualifying. Just over 5 minutes to go. But yeah, you mentioned it there. Dan Neese hasn't actually scored. He's only scored 9 points in the last 2 races, and he hasn't scored a top 20 in 2022 just yet. And it leaves the championship standings looking like this. Carter Kundinger now leading ahead of Billy Smith. Only 1 point between them, though. Dan Neese still in touch with the reigning champion David A. Williams clinging on as well. Then you've got to go quite a way back to the likes of Robert Tinsey and Luke Carbonell. So we are starting to define a real top 4 in this championship. But as I mentioned, third place man Dan Neese, no top 10s in 2022, and from the way that I can't see him on the grid here today as of yet, I don't think that's going to change just for the moment. So we'll be waiting a little bit longer for a top 10 this year. And it's also 1 point at the top of GT Pro as well, with Ross Booth currently leading and Bradley Haley just behind. Paul Gibson very much in the conversation as well, but then it's a big gap down to Wojleski, Mo Islam, Brady Garner, etc. Although they could put in a few good races, stick a few good races together, and you never know where they might end up by the end of the season. We've still got 8 rounds to go, by the way, so far from done. I think this championship is going to finish around May time. We're only just starting February tonight here in the UK anyway. There's a long way to go in this championship. And for Kevin O'Keefe, there's a long way for him to hold on to this championship as well. He's only got 4 points over Ryan Robertson. Those two have been the class of the field so far. As of yet, the pole position has gone to Robertson in this qualifying session. Kevin O'Keefe starting 12 places behind him in the grid order, so that's not good news for him. Trent Brown and David Parry and Ryan Caldwell round out your top 5, but it's very much appearing to be a head-to-head between O'Keefe and Robertson in the most numerous of all of the classes we have it this season. LMP2, GT3, GT3 Pro and GT3 AM, and yeah, that's how they stand in qualifying. Very, very close in pros. We've come to expect from Booth, Wasilewski, Jones, Gibson and Haley, the usual 5 up in the top 5 at the moment. It's Ryan Robertson once again destroying the GT AM field as you would expect. And in LMP2, it's Jeffrey Humes for the second round in a row, appearing out of nowhere and all of a sudden putting a few good races together. He joined the championship around 5, but he's hit the ground running absolutely in this one, and yeah, he's been performing well so far. Took that victory at Road America, and so yeah, that was I think that was his 11th victory of his Autobahn Sportscar Challenge career, and yeah, that's not a bad record at all to just jump straight in and go straight to the top as he's done.
No, absolutely, and just going back to the championship standings there, you know, for me, I mean, they're all doing a great job. I mean, it's lovely to see. It's absolutely fantastic to see all the championships relatively close at the top. There's at least a couple of guys, obviously the O'Keefe in the AMS. There's 2 of them there battling away for the top spot in the pros. Those top 3 in the pros, Booth, Haley, you know, they've been giving us some fantastic racing every week, and they're never ever far apart on the track, so I hope to see some more of that this evening. And Cunningham, for me, in the prototypes, I will say the surprise, because I really, you know, I'm new to this series this season, wasn't quite sure what to expect, but he's remained relatively consistent and he's been scoring points. He's kept going when he's had a few incidents, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? And you know that the championships are very much alive. Like you say, there's a lot of rounds left to still score points, but it's great to see that they're all close and they're all battling.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Carter Cunningham there. He's only actually ever won one Autobahn Sportscar Challenge race in his career, and when you think about it, we've got guys like Robert Tinsey who's got 29, Billy Smith II who's got 27. You know, they're second and fourth, I'll get it right, third and fourth in the all-time winners list of this championship. So yeah, you're right, Cunningham has been doing a very good job, but then again, he hasn't, in my opinion, you know, this might be doing him a disservice, it probably is, but he hasn't been setting the world on fire in any of those races, but he's been very consistent, picking up solid points every time. Had a bit of a stumble at Daytona, couldn't get the top 10 there, but since then he's only been off the podium once in the last 4 races, and that came last time out at Road America, and he was only 4th when he was off the podium, so very strongly. One word about Road America though is that the start was very, very messy indeed, and we hope that doesn't repeat itself here today, because it could be a very messy 60 minutes if it starts off in the same vein that we did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, Cunningham, he's just to dwell on him for 1 minute. He's not been clear of incidents. He's had a lot of incidents. He's had a lot of off tracks. He's had a lot of collisions with some of the GT cars. You know, he's not having like the cleanest of runs, but he keeps going. He pits, he repairs, does what he needs to do, and he keeps going. And he does have a reasonable pace, as we can see. He's third in the standings at the minute, nearly just sort of 2.275 of a second off that pole lap at the moment. But he keeps going, and that's what the guys need to do, and he battles through, and he's got relatively good pace. If he could stay out of trouble, I think we could see him on that top step a little bit more often.
We also can't forget about David A. Williams, who's in 4th place in this championship at the moment. Kind of just been discounting him so far in this season, because he got set quite far back by his crash at Daytona. If you remember, he was leading after a few laps, but then in the traffic at turn 1 went off the road and into the wall for the reigning champion. It didn't start off well for him, but ever since then he's not finished out the top 5. He's been between 3rd and 5th in all 4 of the previous 5 races. So all 4 of the previous 4, I meant to say, and yeah, that is very solid points indeed. He's continuing to do it. We're about to run out of time in this qualifying session, by the way. I think he's going to get one more chance at this. Yes, he's on an outlap at the moment. He's got himself over the line in time, so we're going to get a first real view as to what this circuit is really like. It's not a street circuit where you see particularly high-speed accidents and high-speed commitment corners. We just saw basically the only high-speed corners on the entire circuit. It's basically medium speed or slow speed around these tricky little turns. It's not like, you wouldn't compare it to an Adelaide where you've got a very committed right-hander at turn, what is it, 8, 9, something like that, around the back of the circuit. It's very slow, it's medium speed around here, but the walls are ever present, and it's going to be about staying out of trouble today. I think everybody knows that.
Yeah, and it's relatively wide in most of the areas. There is room to overtake, but as you say, with the sort of stop start of the tighter corners at the ends of those straights and things, there is still going to be an element that the LMP drivers are going to have to be patient. The GT drivers are going to have to be very observant, and I can see a few incidents coming into some of those braking zones. Although we have got some relatively long straights where the LMP should be able to blast past the GT cars, it's just when they're catching them into the braking zones. And this section here, that section we've just gone through there, areas like that, they're going to have to show some patience. But yeah, we're on for a good race. There's some good times set there, and we're looking now down at currently P13, 1.6 seconds off the pace. But I think the field's going to be good. I think we've had some good races, and I'm fingers crossed. Like you say, we don't want the same as we had at Road America. That was a messy start, and it was a downfall for Dan Neese because he was involved in that early on.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's qualifying complete. We'll have a look at the grid order in a moment, but 49 cars on the grid here today, and 4 of them haven't qualified. Well, you might be able to count Jimbo Pfeiffer in that as well, because he barely qualified with a 147. He went out during the AM session, and he's a pro car, so something went wrong there quite clearly. But Daniel Nunes, Luke Carbonu, David Schutt and Joey Atterbury all not leaving the pit lane in that qualifying session. So they've clearly got qualifying penalties, not able to qualify on this occasion. Pretty major for the race winner from Daytona, David Schutt, although he's not really been great since then. He did pick up a second 2 weeks ago at Road America, but the 3 races in the middle, I think he only got about 6 points. He only got 6 points indeed. Let's have a look at those who did qualify though. And it was Jeffrey Humes, the first of them, ahead of Cameron Bidwell. Carter Kundinger, championship leader, is going to be alongside Vance Bell. It's Billy Smith, the second, and Robert Tinsey, very prolific race winners in this championship, 5th and 6th. Reigning champion David A. Williams is alongside Joshua Wolff, and Dominic Durnenberg is rounding up in top 10 with Patrick McDaniel. Leif Peterson, is going to be alongside Binkley. Kansian, Sturburn, Carbonu, Schutt and Nunes going to be rounding out your 17 LMP2 car grid. It's Ross Booth alongside Brian Roseski. Look at how close these times are, by the way. Jones and Gibson going to be behind them, and then Bradley Haley to round out a very normal top 5, which we're having in recent weeks. Nikhil Kotkar managed to get himself into 6th, where he's found himself most times. Young Parker Mo Islam not far behind him, as we've seen recently as well. Christopher Pays and Jordan Lacey round at your top 10, with Paul Slavenik and Eric Della Riva in the next positions. Kadrelski, Pfeiffer and Atterbury round out your 15-car grid. And then the biggest of the grids, it's the GT AM order. Ryan Robertson alongside Matthew Gotch to start off with, then Luke Schmidt and Trent Brown, Franco Margarel and Robert Cast next, ahead of Kevin O'Keefe, who's 7th in GT AM. Not good for him, especially since he's defending only 4 points ahead of Robertson, who's flown away from him there by 8 tenths of a second. Eric Thomas is in 8th, ahead of Dale Green and Eric G. Drapu, rounding up on top 10. A little bit disappointing for him, maybe, as we look at the rest of them. Parry, Hunter, Salmon, Payne, Rosenbaum, Santana and Owens, rounding up your 17-car GT AM order. So that's 49 cars for those of you counting at home and have run out of fingers. We've got a lot of them out there, and it's going to get pretty congested, but that's exactly what this race is going to be characterised by. It's all about getting through without problems and getting to the end of this race with good points. The big question is, can anybody touch Jeffrey Humes, because he was absolutely in scintillating form 2 weeks ago, and in qualifying he has been as well so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just go back to the AM qualifying there. I'm wondering if O'Keefe had difficulty finding a clean lap, to get his time in. Obviously, that's the biggest part of the field with 17 cars on track. You'd like to think he would have been able to, but I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt to find out why he was so far off the pace there. It's be an interesting one to find out. Maybe if he does manage to get through to the front and get onto the podium at the end, we may get an interview and we may get to ask him that question. But it's strange for him to be so far off the pace.
It is just a little bit, but he does tend to rise to the fore during the races. As I mentioned, championship leader at the moment, 4 podiums out of 5, and that final one was when he finished all the way down in 29th in the GT overall order. So clearly had some problems that day. But yeah, don't forget GT scored by the GT overall positions. That's why the winner is given 40 in GT3. But that almost always goes to the GT Pro winner. You can pick up 40 points if you're a GT car even, but you've got to beat all the GT Pros to do that. So it is quite difficult, but it does tend to mean you can gain quite a few points on your rivals if you get a good enough result out of things. For example, Ryan Robertson gained 4 points out of Kevin O'Keefe, despite the fact they were 1-2 in GT Am last time, because they had a pro car in between them, in 7th place overall in the GT overall standings. So yeah, there we go. You can pick up points very easily. Just waiting for the guys to grid up. By the way, it's taking a little while, but normally take a little bit longer to go through the grid. Just wary of missing at the start, to be quite honest, because it's a very short formation lap. In case you don't know, we're just coming towards turn 12 now, is where we're facing. Then we'll be into 13 very quickly and through 14, and into turn 1, which thankfully is a bit more flowing than we had at Road America, and hopefully it alleviates some of the problems that we had 2 weeks ago. But then again, it's the same bunch of drivers, I suppose, in roughly the same place, so you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
there we are.
I think we're getting them all on the grid now. There was just a few of the LMP drivers were a little bit slow to come out of the stalls, as it were, and get onto the grid. Maybe making some last-minute adjustments. Who knows? But yeah, let's hope for a clean start this time. We want some fast racing, we want some clean racing, and we want some hard racing. So let's get them away and get them round those first few corners nice and clean, and settle into a pace for what is going to be a 60-minute race.
Yes, indeed it will. The lights will be just getting ready as the safety car pulls off, and yeah, very short, a couple of corners under the safety car, and then we'll be at green flag racing very, very quickly. It's going to be Jeffrey Humes in control of this field for the second round in a row. Only joined us 2 weeks ago for this for season 11, but he's already found his way to the front. As the safety car pulls in now, the field is under the control of the Canadian, and Humes is going to wait a little bit longer before hitting the throttle and going. Bidwell not able to stay alongside him in that one. It's going to be a single file run for him into turn number 1. Then Kundiger following in behind through in 3rd position. Then it's Powell, Tinsey and Smith running at the top 6. Kundiger not waiting around by the looks of things. Round the outside of Bidwell immediately. Bidwell quite early on the brakes coming down into turn number 3. And so the championship leader is able to get up into second. A nice start for him, and a nice start in the GT field by the looks of things as well. Especially the front part of the field, more single file than we saw 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the prototypes got away very, very well there, and Cunningham, like you say, that was a brilliant move around the outside. But I do think Bidwell was a bit of discretion is the better part of valour. I think he braked early to didn't want to go through there side by side and have any incidents. For me, that's how it looked anyway. But yeah, the M class now getting away as well. So it's the whole field is away and racing. All seem to be streaming through single file at the moment, all finding the feet, finding the pace, and let battle commence.
The battle certainly are commencing down in GT Am as we go up to the prototypes, in side by side with Joshua Wolf coming under pressure from David A. Williams. He's lost a place on this opening lap, qualified 7th, down to 8th already, I'm afraid, for the 4th place man in this championship. Looking at the inside, even at turn 1 maybe. This would be a brave move, but he's actually gone for it here. One of the fastest, if not the fastest corner on the circuit. He's dived it down the inside anyway though, and he's just got straight through on the defensive once more from Joshua Wolf. Around the outside quite possibly, but not able to do it. Here's Kevin O'Keefe. Very important day for him coming up, because at the moment, well, during qualifying anyway, there are 12 positions between himself and his championship rival Ryan Robertson. That is going to easily lose him a good 12 points, maybe even up towards 20 points in this championship. So he needs to start climbing the order very quickly.
Yeah, he's got a hard day's work ahead of him. He's got to find his way past a few cars here, and I don't imagine round here it's going to be the easiest track to overtake on. It's probably going to be easier to defend than it is to overtake, so let's see what goes on there. But we're looking at P14 at the moment. Robert Cocaine in the 119 car, just looking to try and put a move on Peterson, but he's just a bit far back at the moment, and I think Peterson ahead of him is preoccupied with Schutt, because they're even closer together, and it's going to squeeze up through these next few corners, and then as they get onto these straights now, it's going to stretch away, and Kukan will be looking to try and stay in the slipstream and get into one of these braking zones. But I tell you what, it's going to be difficult to overtake around here tonight.
Williams was certainly one of the only ones I could see actually making an overtake in these opening couple of laps, because of his run off the final corners basically. But what I have noticed immediately, and what is very noticeable around this circuit, is the bumps here. It's our only street race of the year. It's the first time we've ever come here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and the bumps are going to be very, very tricky to deal with indeed. We haven't got Sebring on the calendar this season, but we've got the bumps of Sebring here in Detroit. Of course, street circuits not quite paved like the normal road courses we actually go to, and so that is going to provide a challenge, especially for the prototype guys. Notice a couple of them getting very loose on the bumps already, because they are very stiff, those prototypes, even stiffer than the GT cars, which are just stiffened up road cars basically with more aerodynamics. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult day in that respect as well. And if this was real life, a bit of a bone shaking day as well, but thankfully they've got that at least pressure relieved of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just hitting those bumps slightly wrong, maybe too much power, unsettling the car. I think we'll see a few cars with a bit of snap oversteer and maybe a visit to the wall. Hopefully not, but it's. I think it'll be inevitable at some point for somebody. You just see there actually that Lamborghini getting pretty loose while it's trying to defend very hard, indeed, and really having to work to maintain that 8th position. Now his Parker's Lacey's looking to try and put a move on him, but just didn't have the legs there to get around the outside of him, and Park just put that car where he needed to keep that 8th position at the moment, but he's coming under increasing pressure all the time, corner after corner. Lacey's really applying the pressure and not giving much daylight between the two sets of bumpers.
Yeah, Lacey does need to get a move on a little bit if he wants to get up towards the front where he did belong in the first couple of rounds. At Daytona and at the second round at Road Atlanta, he was third and first after those two, but he's had 3 weeks of only picking up 1 point throughout those. That was at Mid-Ohio, where he was way down the order. I don't think he even attended the other two, so he certainly would prefer to be up towards the top 5 as he was early on, but not able to just for the moment. Here's Robert Tinsley though, third all time in the winners list of this championship with a whopping 29 to his name. He's I suppose tied second, I guess, with Jason DeVries, but yeah, not quite getting the 35. Still held by Jason Gerard, who's all time got the most wins in this championship, and it's easy to see how you can accumulate those since you've got 11 seasons so far, and this is round 14, so that is quite a lot. But we're approaching on GT traffic already. I did see a car in the wall there in that long shot there. I don't know if that was just me, but the traffic has already been approached. We're only 6 minutes into this race, but
lap 5.
From now on in, it's going to be a very, very difficult evening. And yeah, where on earth do you get past a lap car here? It's difficult to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, only on lap 5 and really going, but it's definitely. I mean, Tinsey was he's losing touch with that 4th place Bo. Really, when we were looking at the prototypes, there was he was going to be very much a man on the defensive. Which we cut to a replay now of Hunter, and let's see what Hunter's been doing.
Yeah, let's see. One of the very few Mercedes in this order, and he gets a touch from one of the BMWs. A 36 car, did I read there? I didn't quite see, but it certainly had a 6 at the end of it. Might have been Ryan Wozleski in 38th overall who tapped him round there. And Shane Hunter went straight back to the pit lane, I'm afraid.
He maybe just didn't fancy sitting there waiting for an eternity for the field to pass. I think that's going to be one of the issues tonight, isn't it? Is the rejoin, because you can't pull off, you can't go onto the verge to turn it around. You are sat in harm's way for the full, recovery procedure. It's going to be very, very difficult if anyone does get turned like that. And we go to another replay now of Drapu in the 97 car.
Oh, it gets dived. Oh, in a big way. And that was the 46 car. Oh, and a big stack up here between everybody. It was just in front of Wasilewski, who was involved in the last one. I really don't know who that might have been, but there we are. Looked like they waited, whoever it was, tapping him around there. But what I can say is that a few people have been in the pit lane so far. We've had Sheldon Rosenbaum in the pits. He might be out of the race already. Joey Atterbury hasn't taken the start.
Williams.
Yeah, David A. Williams has been in the pit lane as well for a fairly long time. I was going to say, could that possibly be strategic? But it's too early for you to make it to the end here, and this is exactly what you might want to avoid if you're David A. Williams, but I don't think he is doing that. Although, no, he's dropping down the GT order now as well. It's not a good start for the reigning champion at all, but this is the kind of thing you want to avoid. These GT cars are so stacked up. They're battling it away, and you're having your own battle as well if you're Robert Tinsley and Billy Smith here. And so it is just a mess as we look at G. Drapu getting back around again. Looks like he's going to have a few problems with these. Oh dear. Going to get back around again. He's just about managed it. This is Matt Owens we're focusing on. The 077, the Porsche. Does he get dived here by a prototype? Yes. And go. Oh! Offline, and you've got to be wary of that when you're getting laps. You've got to be wary of the less grip on the outside line, just straight into the barrier there for the Porsche.
Yeah, just lost his grip, didn't he? Understeered off, and that was it. Contact with the wall, and unfortunate there, because he didn't necessarily do anything drastically wrong. The prototype didn't do anything wrong. It was just like you said, the lack of grip, and just carried a little bit too much speed too deep into the corner and made that contact. But here's Tinsey looking to try and put some pressure on Smith, although Smith managed to just pull a little bit of a gap out there in the traffic. Not much, but just a little bit of breathing room. They were closer a few corners ago, but yeah, Tinsey now trying to close back up in through this twisty section now, and they're coming through the traffic, and as we said at the beginning, they're going to have to be patient. Smith, he's stuck behind the car now. He's going to hopefully pull out and get it past now, but that's allowed Tinsey to get closed right up behind him. And Tinsey, is he going to be patient? Yep, he is. I didn't know whether he'd maybe try to throw one down the inside there just to stay on the back, but good to see that he's showing some patience, and he's not trying to rush it and cause an incident. He's picking his moments to get past, as it has to be said, quite a few of these cars are. We haven't really seen any bad dives as yet as we go to a replay.
Oh, of a bad dive, arguably. But Kevin Bingley, we certainly think so. On the outside line of turn 3 there, it was a same class kind of dive though. But there we are. It's either way, Bingley will not be pleased about it. But it's the kind of thing you've got to do around here, really. You've got to make decisive moves and basically dives, really, if you want to make it through here. We saw with Jordan Lacey early on having trouble getting past Matthew Gotch in the AM category, and he might even still be behind him. And we're about to see with Paul Gibson and Albert Jones here as well. It's difficult to pass around here, even through turn 11, big braking, well, not a big braking zone, but certainly a slow corner that you might be able to use, but it's just no way through here for Gibson. He's going to follow the Audi once more.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at the leaderboard as well while we're watching this battle, and just to keep us all informed, it's good to see. I was going to say it's good to see the top 3 in the prototypes are all really, really close together, but Bibbo's just dropping off the top 2 at the minute. It's just a replay of Daniel Noon's, not quite sure what he's done wrong, but going to see him have an incident at the moment as he's just gone round the corner there, and yeah, evasive action as they came round to see another prototype facing the wrong way.
There's Luke Carbonu facing the wrong way, or at least facing in the wrong direction. He wasn't quite the whole way around, and there's already smashing going on around this corner. What? Oh dearie me, this is earlier. So Luke Carbonu has clearly had some problems earlier. Sherburne had to negotiate as well, and presumably a lot of the GTs got involved in that as well. So that's one of the dangers around here. Blind corners everywhere at this street circuit, and so this kind of thing can happen. This is Dominic Durnenberg. Now, was he involved somewhere? Quite possibly. Oh, so this is a separate thing, is it? And smashing into the Porsche 250. Porsche's getting, and that is one of the bizarrest things I've ever seen. Durnenberg's on his side there. Oh dear. Well, he's gone back to the pit lane. Who else has gone back to the pit lane here? David O. Williams is all the way back down. Was Kevin Binkley involved in that? Maybe. Either way, the number of prototypes involved. Two of them had to escape back to the pit lane there, all in one go. That was a very, very bizarre moment, but a stack up that we often see at a street circuit like this.
Yeah, it's like you say. I mean, you've got 3, 4, 5 cars and more sometimes running nose to tail, and it only takes for that front car to crash, to have an incident, and you've got a concertina effect very, very quickly. And drivers have not enough time to react. But not only do they have not enough time to react, they literally have nowhere to go, as we saw there, and they just literally pile into each other. And it's really unfortunate when that happens. But it's one of those things. It's the nature of street circuits. We've just seen here Bowen Smith, and he's gone down the inside there, came from a fair way back, but he's still side by side at the minute, and he's got Smith boxed in with a GT car through 2 corners side by side. Very impressive stuff, but he's now going to be on the outside, and Smith may get that position back, and no, they're going to still go side by side. Both still now got the inside again. That's 3, 4 corners side by side. Great stuff in the middle of the GTs, but they've also got Tinsey catching them up now as they're battling away. This is going to turn into a 3-car prototype battle very soon now.
It certainly is. They were stuck side by side basically because they couldn't get through GTs side by side through that twisty section. Finally, when it widened out on the straight, they could go for it, but it took a while. And there they get through Wozleski again, who's out of position, especially compared to his pace, trying to get through on some GTs. That was nearly a dive from Belle, but didn't go for it in the end at turn 11. Thankfully, finally can go for it now on Bradley Haley, I think that is, in the Mercedes.
Indeed, it is.
Found a couple of corners. Those number boards are very helpful on the windscreen. Here's Ryan Robertson, trying to stay out of trouble, and he really is trying to stay out of trouble. He's in the GTM lead, for goodness sake. He doesn't want to be involved in this, and he's got a number of pro cars around him just for the moment, but of course he is battling with those guys for points, so if he can stay in front of them, then it would help him points wise. However, he doesn't want to get taken out by them at the same time.
No, absolutely, and just a quick note on our AM Championship leader O'Keefe. He's gone back a position. He's from where he started, so he's had an incident because he'd moved up a couple of places, and he's now gone back. So he's losing ground. So he's really not enjoying Belle Isle, I don't think, and he maybe has just got a lack of pace around here, and it might just be that the track doesn't suit his driving style, and he's struggling tonight.
David A. Williams is also struggling at the moment. He's out the pit lane again after a 6-minute pit stop. Didn't quite see what happened to him, or at least if it has, completely gone out my brain already. But no, he's back out there again. And if ever there was a race where you would encourage your driver more than any to stay in and just keep going, then it is certainly this one, because there are going to be more accidents by the end of this race, and you are going to pick up more points. It's only going to be 1 point really, unless you can get inside the top 8 or so. But it's still worth it either way. This might be what has happened to Kevin O'Keefe to set him back quite so much, because he was up a little bit further than this. The 25 got alongside him. He got wide, and for the second time already, we've only been in this race for 15 minutes, but for the second time we've seen a GT driver with the car down its inside just going at the same speed as you would if you were clipping the apex, and he can't manage that around the outside. It's all dirty out there and bumpy, and the wall is very close.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's just no room for error, is there? There's no room for adjustment. You've got no runoff. You can't just run that little bit wide or whatever. So difficult situation for a lot of the drivers tonight, and I think we might see a few more of those incidents. But really gutted to see O'Keefe struggling, because I think he's been doing a solid job in that AM Championship so far to be leading it and to be bringing in the points like he is. And I don't think when we've interviewed him, no one's been more surprised than he has that he is where he is.
Oh yeah, that is true. As Belle gets down the inside of another GT at turn 11, it's time we're getting into the back of the GT field again already. So we've only just made our way all the way through. Although that might have been Ross Booth actually. I didn't quite see if that was an 01 at the front of the windscreen. But either way, they're getting through on more GTs, and it is going to be like this constantly from now on. But look at the way it's affected the race. people say the races are won in traffic and multi-class racing, and certainly seems to be one of those days, because Belle, although he's been doing a good job through traffic, I know he's been battling with Billy Smith and so on, but he's lost 20 seconds. This prototype field was a lot closer 10 minutes ago than it has been after one trip through traffic.
Yeah, I mean, the times go up and down, don't they, all the time? When we see it round after round, that the traffic does play a big part, and more so at this type of track. There's a big concertina effect, and then you just when you get held up behind a GT car, but then you can stretch your legs on like they are now, like Tinsley's managing to stretch his legs. He's got Wolf behind him, pressuring him, but they've got relatively clear track. The men who are still battling here, this is Gibson, still looking for that second place in the Pro class. He's got to get Jones out got to get past Jones to get that second place, but Booth is having a stormer, and he's 5 seconds up the road from these two.
The championship leader, of course, trying to pull away from Bradley Haley in fourth in this championship. Paul Gibson is only 7 points back. He's trying to make his way through on Albert Jones, who's currently down in 6th place in this championship. He's in a 3-way tie, actually, 55 points behind the leader right now, so a second place would do him a world of good, but not if the championship leader keeps winning as he is right now. Down the inside again at this tricky turn 12, and Gibson, I think, doing the right thing there. Instead of trying to hook it round the outside like you would at a normal circuit, like a proper purpose-built circuit, you would just hang it round the outside there and kind of let the prototype use its grip and get through. But the GTs don't really have much grip on the outside. Well, nobody has much grip on the outside line of these corners because it's a street circuit. And so I think it's better to just let the prototype through and then actually take the apex. Do kind of take the line you would if you were trying to do an over and under on somebody else. Just let the prototype in, then just take your line, get a bit of a better exit off the corner. Seems to be a better way of doing that, really, than trying to stick it around the dirty outside line, which you have here.
Yeah, absolutely. Lacey wasn't taking your advice there, and he was going very wide and deep, but thankfully he managed to keep it on the track and pull in. So we go back to Tinsey now, and this is really hotting up now as Wolf has closed right up onto the back of him. Bit of GT traffic in front as well, holding them up, getting in the way, but they've both got past that now, and they've literally... Wolf!
In the wall for Joshua Wolf. He was trying to follow Tinsey and make a move, but he slid and driven a little bit too hard into turn 12 and straight into the wall.
I think he got a better run through that corner and had to lift off, which unsettled the car, unbalanced the car. And as you talked about earlier, those bumps, I think with the lift off and the bump combination, that's what's put him into the wall there, I think.
It was a pretty heavy hit as well. He didn't have to come into the pit lane there, but he might have not quite realised the full extent of the damage just yet. But he might be able to get away with that one. It was a... Dear me, yeah, it was a pretty hefty hit, really. And that was quite close for Ryan Robertson, I think that was, in the 212, not 210, I should say. David A. Williams, though, just getting out the way of everybody. This is him letting some people through and pulling off to the side of the road. Is he letting Tinsey through as well, or is he actually retiring here? He's letting a number of cars through here. I thought he was going to drive straight into somebody there. I'm glad he's not. But, oh, well, this is a little bit bizarre. So which car was that? Leif Peterson, I think that was. I don't think those two were very near to each other before Williams had to come into the pit lane, so I don't think he was intentionally doing that. That was just a very weird moment, really. I don't quite know why he let so many people through there. He could have easily slotted into one of those gaps, but without causing problems. But either way, he's still in the race, I suppose. Trying not to make a nuisance of himself, but he nearly did there.
Yeah, very nearly, but it's a bit strange, like you say, to pull up and let all those cars past. We didn't really see a reason for that. But looking at Bo now and Smith, Smith very, very close up behind Bo, and he's looking for that 4th place still. These two have been battling away for quite a long time now and running pretty close together for a number of laps. So Smith's still got a lot to do. He wants to score some solid points here tonight, and they've got some relatively clear track now, so it'll be interesting to see what the pace is, whether Bo can drop him a little bit, or whether Smith has got the pace to put a move on, or whether Smith's just playing that tactical game at the moment and keep the pressure on Bo and just keep applying the pressure and try and force a mistake to get that position from him.
It's close between these two at the moment. 1/3 of the way through this race already, by the way. It just feels like a very short race after the 90-minute race we had at Road America last time out. And bizarrely, the two 90-minute races, the two longest races in this 6-round season so far, has been most chaotic. So when they've got more time on their hands, all of a sudden they're having a few more incidents for whatever reason. I think Daytona incidents were a bit of back-to-school syndrome, I would call it. First round back in the championship again after the off-season, and all of a sudden everybody just forgot quite how it works, and it was a little bit messy last time out, and I couldn't explain it to you. But this is the replay of Joshua Wolf, as you mentioned, just maybe getting a little bit wide and taking a bit too much speed. He locks the rears actually on the way in here for a start as well. I think he might have gone around actually if that wall wasn't there, but I don't want to say thankfully it was, but either way it did straighten him out.
I think the combination there as well was the fact that because he was passing the GT car in the braking zone, he was tighter to the inside as well, so trying to take a tighter line and, like you say, just braking that bit later and that bit harder and just locked up as well. I think he was trying to make sure he got the move done on the GT car, but unfortunately he messed it up and ended up in the wall.
Absolutely, I think you're right on that one. As we look at Christopher Pace trying to get through on Mo Islam, a good run for the Audi through that turn 2 committed corner here. Down the inside for a couple of prototypes. They're trying to get through on Ryan Robertson, by the way, here, GTM leader. Oh, that's late on the brakes from the Ferrari. Thankfully, the prototype has seen him, but they're still side by side. The two classes of car today very close together in terms of pace, and finally that car does split this battle up. Robertson is demoted to 9th in the overall GT order, so he does lose out on what is going to be 4 points there, unfortunately for him, but still Kevin O'Keefe is a long way down. Ryan Robertson 23rd overall, by the way. Kevin O'Keefe 35th, so 12 points down on him. That's a lot. 12 positions down. He's about 13 points down, so that is a lot, even at this early stage in the season. Either way, they've managed to get their way through, and the prototype doing a pretty good job of making its way through. But through some of these medium speed and slow speed corners, the GT cars with their very ideal mechanical grip actually better than the prototypes in some situations.
It seems like that way. Maybe, like you said earlier, the prototypes are a little bit more sensitive to the bumps, so maybe that's giving the GT cars that little bit of an edge through some of the corners as well. But Bidwell here making his way through very well, currently in 3rd place. He's carving his way through the field as we see him passing the GT cars here, and indeed just passing his teammate, I believe, there as well. Here's Walowski currently in 11th place in the pros, trying to make a move on P10 at the moment. They're going to go side by side down this down the straightaway here, and he's got the job done very easily there. I think he almost led him past, I think.
I was on an AM car, I think, Trent Brown it was, the number 30, so Wojciechowski's recovering from some kind of problem early on in the race. I just wonder if something happened on lap 1, because I've seen him a long way down from very far out in this race, but there's a lot of positions up for grabs in front of him. Look at that. Just up there. Stemming from Ryan Robertson here, suddenly a bit off the pace. Young Parker's about to go through on him, as well as Slavinik. Then Wojciechowski's here, along with a number of ETAMs. So something has gone on here, and there's a bit more contact. It's an all stacking up. You would not want to be a prototype approaching these guys right now, because this is a big train, and it's all coming from the GTM leader, who's all of a sudden under pressure from Gosh at the front of this race. As we look at Boyd Payne, another one of the BMWs having problems. Actually, I do love turn 1 and 2, but that's not quite the way to do them. Oh dear.
Yeah, and I think we were looking at, that's Smith and Bo closing in now on that on the battling GT cars as well. So they're the prototypes at the moment. They're going to have to deal with all these battling GT cars, and that's not going to be easy because they're in a battle of their own.
Wesleski getting through on Luke Schmidt, that was there, and Trent Brown all of a sudden is going to really fancy his chances here down into turn 3. Look at this, how messy it is down in towards turn 3. Oh, damage on Ryan Robertson, and Matthew Gotch has gone down the inside into 3 as we go 3 wide with some prototypes. Robertson has been displaced, he's down to 2nd. It was looking like a dream day in Detroit for him earlier, all of a sudden it's turned into a disaster. Round the outside for one of the pro cars. Robertson demoted again. Look at the damage he's got on the front of that BMW. He's had some big problems somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That was well done for taking us through that with the commentary there, because there's so many cars in one area of the track there. It was really difficult to see who was doing what and where. Great commentary there, Ewan, and got us through that busy section as I just sat back and watched. But they made short work of it. The prototypes, to be fair, they got through there and all pretty good. But the battle still goes on hard here with cars all over the place again, and this is just so busy, so busy. You're just waiting for the incidents to occur.
Oh, into the wall for poor Slavenik there, just coming out the final turn, or the second to last turn. Turn 13 anyway. Wazowski's going to fancy his chances of getting himself into the pro top 10, as we see Robertson further down. Thankfully these guys are able to get themselves out of here now, so it's a little bit nicer for the prototypes to actually get through, which is an advantage for them. You can see in the background there Robertson defending from Brown and Margrella now on the side for Wazowski, not able to do it into turn 3 on this occasion. It's Luke Schmidt, by the way, in second in GTM, just behind these two. And just see up the road, Matthew Gotch has got a couple of cars between himself and his main rivals in this race, so he's going to be loving that. That's down the inside there for David Schutt on Patrick McDaniel. Schutt started from the back of the field, by the way, with a qualifying ban in this one. So looking to regain some of those places once again, going on board with the Audi, but staying in front. For the moment, it looks like Trent Brown is going to get in front of Robertson as well, so this race is really falling apart all of a sudden for the man's second place in the GTM Championship, only 4 points behind O'Keefe. Looks like both of them are going to have a bit of a disaster today. Even Trent Brown will put himself back into contention with this race here today. He's third at the moment, but who knows where Robertson and O'Keefe are going to end up. Getting educated, by the way, in the chat here. I need to have a look at this. I've been saying people's names wrong for ages.
I think a lot of that's down to me, and I think I'm butchering a few names here tonight, so apologies for that. But it's just so busy, so hectic trying to keep up with the action on track at the moment. He's difficult, but boy, he's just in 5th place. He's just coming through the traffic there. But we go back to the AM class now, and there is absolutely racing everywhere. This is great to see, but it's not over by a long way. We're only just about halfway through this race at the moment. We're going to see a few more guys coming into the pits very soon to make some of their one and only pit stop of the race. As that is
Luke Carbonate. What happened to him through 1 and 2? Already got a bit of damage on the car from his spin earlier, and he's gone straight into the wall at turn 2. Directly into the wall, and ouch, that car does not look nice anymore. A lot of damage through there, and he's gone back to the pit lane, possibly to retire the car for the day. So there we are. Our first retirement won't be the last, as we look at Mark Kozrowski as well. Return 10 and then 11. Did he get dived by a prototype? Yes. Oh, and into the wall as well. Not a nice place to be if you're a GT there. There's a lot you can do about the prototype, sticking their nose down the inside. Probably needed to be a little bit more decisive with that one, really, to make that one work, and unfortunately it's ended up with the GT in the wall.
Yeah, this is Margarella on Robertson as well, and he's going to send that down the inside there through that lovely fast left-hander, and he gets that move done there really relatively easily. But Robertson's not happy about it, flashing the lights there, and he's going to try and come straight back at him as he drops into the slipstream, but he's not going to be close enough. That Audi's got some serious pace down the straights and through the corners there, not too bad at all, but the BMW is still hanging on, and Robertson is still going to try and get that position back, but it's just looking now like Margarella's just managing to stretch his legs a little bit, and he's getting that gap out now. 7/10, he'll soon be up at a second if he keeps going at this rate, and then he'll break the slipstream, which is just about done now, and he's going to start pulling away in a safe 4th place in the AM class. So his next target is Brown up in 3rd place, 2 or 3 seconds up the road.
Just just wonder why Robertson hasn't been in the pit lane yet, because he can make it to the end from here easily. He doesn't need to run this tank dry by any stretch of the imagination. So he would, and he can get some damage repaired as well. But anyway, he's decided not to do that. This is Robert Kast trying to get through. Oh, he was trying to get through on one of the Audis, and he was straight into the wall at turn 2. So he's down the order. It looked like he was trying to get through on Robertson there. Looked like his car.
It did indeed.
The wall.
Yeah, it did indeed. But here we've got the leader of the AM class, and looking pretty solid there, but in amongst some traffic, it has to be said at the minute. So it's all about trying to keep it clean and realise who's in your battle and who just to get out of the way of. To be honest, I think that's like I said earlier. I think discretion is the better part of valour tonight, and you just need to realise who you're battling with, and just anyone else, just let them go, get out of the way, and try and find some clear track to put your lap times in. But he's doing a great job at the moment, leading the AM class, and he's got a 2.5 second lead, so he's fairly comfortable at the moment.
I've noticed I'm getting Wojciechowski and Robertson mixed up quite often when I'm trying to talk about them, but that's because they're on the same team, and they are leading that team's championship, by the way. Robert Tinsey is one of their drivers in the prototype. The GT Pro driver is Wojciechowski, and the AM driver is Ryan Robertson. I think you have to have one driver from each category in there as a team to be registered for the team's championship. That's under Satellite Racing, by the way, who are trying to defend their team's championship that they won with De Vries, Wojciechowski, Booth, Ryan Robertson and Major last season. So they had 5 on that occasion, but I presume the rules were a bit different to what they are now. They've got and excludes the decimal places, but 99.7 points, and they're 8.5 ahead of the PG13 Murray Band, led by Cameron Bidwell, Gibson and Gotch, who are also 3 very, very strong drivers. Teams Championship, not something that I'm going to talk about very often on the broadcast. We will update you every now and then on it, but the fact that it's an average from every round of the 3 drivers, which is exceptionally difficult for us to do, and then we have to add the decimal places all together. So we can't do that, not on stream anyway. We will just embarrass ourselves. So we'll look to that a little bit later on in the season, maybe. But working out averages and then adding decimal places, and no, we're still clear.
What you're saying, Ewan, is our maths is worse than our pronunciation.
Well, some would disagree, but anyway, we'll see. I'm sure we'll have enough entertainment for us to keep us occupied in the 3 categories without our decimal places. To be quite honest, it's looking very close in all 3 categories so far. None of them separated by more than 5 points at the top end of the standings going into this race. Might be a little bit more than that afterwards, because Carter Gundinger is currently extending his LMP2 championship lead with another 2nd place. But what can Jeffrey Ooms do this season in terms of a championship charge? Is it too late for him, having missed the first 4 rounds? I think he did. 2 of those obviously not going to matter because of the 2 drop weeks, but still not got any insurance policy in terms of those drop weeks and having a bad race. And he's got 2 zeros to actually take in his final score, so may well still be too late for him. But if he keeps going on like this, then it might well not be.
Yeah, he's certainly taken the championship by storm since he joined. I mean, he's got the pace. It has to be said tonight, he's probably not. The pace differential is not as big as it was last time out, but I think that again, it's the nature of the circuit, isn't it? It's so busy, it's hard to get those lap times in when it's as busy as it is. But he's still 7.5 seconds clear up the road, and Gunninger doing a fantastic job, just sat there. Well, it's like 8 seconds now. The interval's just changed. He's about 8 seconds off that lead, but he knows what he's got to do. He'll be quite happy with Gunninger, I think, to bring it home in 2nd tonight and just do what he needs to do to bank a few points. Absolutely is. Still, the Matthew Gotch in the lead of this GT Anfield. Start to space out a little bit over the last few laps, and you do tend to see this at Belle because it's such a tricky circuit. The trickier the race is, the more spread out it gets. And here we are with Joshua Wolf and Robert Tinsey, one of those who's been struggling a little bit. He was knocking on the door of a top 5 earlier, but that is almost 10 seconds away now. Joshua Wolf seemingly affected by the damage too much in this one.
The number 12 car seems to be managing okay, and there's actually no visible damage at all, somewhat surprisingly, after that hit he had at turn 12 all those about 20 minutes ago now.
Yeah, I mean, these two have been locked together pretty much for the entirety of this race as well, apart from obviously when Wolf went into the wall, gave Tinsey a bit of room, but then he's caught him back up again, and like you say, seems to be managing any damage there may be very well. But Boyd Payne here in the 22 BMW just looking like he's going to get a tap from behind.
In the wound. Look at that.
Yeah.
Eerie, mate. Well,
and that's some big damage to the front of that BMW, potentially mechanical damage maybe to the engine. Who knows? But I think that's going to be a visit back to the pits.
Okay, talk about kicking a man while he's down. Goodness me, was no slap in the face. As we look at Robert Cast, who's not exactly had a trouble-free day either, with that bent rear wing and all the damage all around the car. That car, I said about Joshua Wolf's damage not affecting him too badly. Well, that's the exact opposite has happened to the 42 Audi. He's had to go back to the pit lane now, understandably, because that car looked in a bad way.
Yeah, to be fair, and I think the damage there obviously had played a part in that final spin there as well. Just no downforce or compromised downforce on the rear end, and they stepped out and lost it a little bit there. But we're in Brown, looking back from Brown's car now in P2 at the third place. Schmidt trying to close up in the Ferrari and maybe put a challenge on for that second place. But he's within a second. Just got a prototype coming through the field now to put a lap on them, but I don't think he's going to interfere in this battle too much. I think Schmidt's just been closing that gap slowly but surely, and he's not been far away from Brown for a few laps. He's just got to get another half a second closer, I would say, to start really applying some pressure and maybe force a mistake from Brown.
This is a bit of lap traffic trying to get out the way there, and it's affected Brown a little bit, but not as much as Schmidt, who's suddenly got quite a lot of damage on that car. On the right hand side, he looks like he's crabbing a bit as well. Does not look like a stable Ferrari whatsoever. It's not really ever straight around here though, so we can't really tell until we get that run down towards turn 3. But Trent Brown seems to be all okay. Got about a second over Luke Schmidt. And by the way, we've still got over 40 cars running in this race. We have not seen as many retirements as I thought at all. But I think people are extra motivated to kind of get back out there and try and get as many points as possible, because this kind of stuff keeps happening. That's young Park, who's been in the wall for some reason, battling with the GT Am leader Matthew Gotch. And speaking of leaders, Jeffrey Humer's in the pit lane as well. So it's all happening at the moment, especially in GT Am. We've got 4 cars within about 2 seconds of each other at the moment, all in one camera shot here.
Yeah, Ooms and Cunningham both in the pits now as well, both taking that pit stop, so it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't expect to see a change in position for those two, but yeah, both taking the pit stops. We're just seeing Brown really now starting to close in on the leader, and he's looking to apply some pressure. He's now got that down to around about 6/10 the gap, and he's managed to extend the gap between himself and Schmidt in third, so he's doing a good job at the moment. And I say, like you said, Schmidt with the Ferrari, he's got that damage, and I think his race is compromised at the minute until he can get into the pits and get that repaired.
I don't quite think. I think the fender is making it look like it's crabbing there a little bit, but it's not actually. I don't think. Looking at this straight down towards turn 3 there, I didn't really see it going too badly. Pit stop cycling out though in LMP2, because we're about 40 minutes into the race now. They've gone quite a long way really on this tank of fuel. We're on board with Trent Brown. It's going to be applying the pressure to Matthew Gotch at this stage. They're behind. You can see Margarella applying the pressure to Luke Schmidt, trying to nurse that car with a bit of damage. But when are these cars going to be into the pit lane is the question as well. Will be answered shortly, I'm sure. Here's Vance Barlow, and all of a sudden it's very close. Cameron Bidwell's had quite a long stop here. He's down in 5th place from 3rd. He hasn't exactly. No, he will be 4th. But Billy Smith, the second, has jumped him for that podium position, so there has been a change there. A shorter pit stop for Billy Smith, only 16 seconds, and I think he's taken the initiative here. Realised that they're not actually using as much fuel as everybody thinks, because they're able to go 40 minutes, which is the longest we've seen all season. He's taken that advantage by taking on 2 seconds less of fuel, and that might have just given him a podium in this race.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, that's what he'll be wanting. Obviously, that's what they all want, is to get on that podium place. But Bidwell and Bow now very, very close and having to fight very, very hard. And it's nothing's. It's a long way from decided with just over 18 minutes left to go in this race before we get the white flag. And yes, it's no one's having an easy time tonight. I don't think, either really, apart from Ooms, who's as he did last time out, showed the pace and managed to get his head down and go. But in all the classes, there's battling throughout the field. There's been some incidents and accidents, and while Cunninger's he's building the points for his championship lead, and Booth is Haley's jumped into the lead of that class battle at the minute, but that's because the other guys have all gone into the pits from the pros. So Haley's that's a very temporary lead for him, because he'll have to pit soon as well. But we've seen Haley do some alternate strategies before, haven't we, Ewan? And they have worked. As that's a big send.
Great dive from Van Spouw, who's into 4th place now, ahead of Bidwell. Was on the front row, let's not forget. Now into only 5th position. Wolf and Tinsley not too far behind, might be outside the top 5 before he knows it here, but that was a great dive. Got to be decisive around here and into turn 7. Bow absolutely was. And getting down the inside there, as the track opened up, and made his move into that position. Mark Kudrowski looks like he's had a few problems in this race as well, by the looks of things, but then again, who hasn't in this one? 24th overall, just behind one of the AM cars. Right now, the 333. Is David Shutt, winner from Daytona, trying to recover from not being able to qualify in this one. Cars coming out the pit lane all at once. Very difficult situation for him to be in, but Shutt makes his way through, and top 5 very possible for him today. That would be a great recovery for him.
Yeah, for sure, that was a good piece of driving there, just all those cars emerging from the pits, and he managed just to hold a tighter line to avoid all of them. But here we are back with this battle now with Brown, still trying to put a move on the Lamborghini ahead. This is the battle of the Lambos, as it were, and 3/10 separating them at the minute, and really Brown's just applying pressure, and he's trying to get that final step on the AM podium. He's I think he's got the pace here. He's tucked up right behind. He's going to try and get down the inside now and put a move on maybe before they get to the braking zone. Yeah, that was very, very easy, and just showed he got the slingshot, got the slipstream, and got the job done, got that position.
Got dived just to rub salt into that wound once again. He's got dived, and the prototype didn't even get through either, so he's got to go through that pain all over again, maybe even into turn 11. He just actually takes a bit of a defensive line to make sure that the prototype doesn't do that. But just look at how traffic can open gaps up around a circuit like this one. What, a second and a half, and the prototype's still not through. Has to wait till the front straight. Now finally, I think I thought they'd both been in here actually already. So what's that all about? In for a second time? No, maybe he's just fallen back quite a lot here, Matthew Gutch. But if he has, then quite a remarkable change in fortunes for him. That's a long way back. So yeah, I don't quite know if I'm not remembering something that's happened there, but thought that was the battle for the net race lead, but clearly not, because Gotch is going to... Oh no, that was his second stop, so all of a sudden he has got some kind of problem. He's had to pit all over again there, but either way, it's left this man out in the lead, and got 2 seconds over Margarella, and we'll see if he can hold on to it over the last 15 minutes.
Just see Haley's gone into the pits from the pro lead at the minute, so it'd be interesting to see where he comes back out. I think he was running round about 4th in that battle, so it'd be interesting to see if he can get a jump on anybody, as he's now at the pit exit as well. He's just coming back out onto the track. He's dropped down to P3 in class. Is Gibson going to get back past him? Yes, indeed he is. So I think he's back into 4th. I don't think he's really gained an awful lot from running that bit longer than the other guys, but he's on pit exit back out and into a solid, what looks like a solid 4th place.
It should be for the moment. Mossbooth got a little bit... Well, his lead has actually stayed the same. Albert Jones's advantage over Paul Gibson has just extended a little bit to 3.5 seconds.
Look at that! Look at that interval at the top end, though. You and Ooms and Cunninger. Cunninger's got that down. It was 8-9 seconds. It's now down to 4.
Yeah, we've certainly not seen Ooms run away with it like he did at Road America. He could have had a cup of tea, to be quite honest, 2 weeks ago. But Cunninger pushing him all the way this time. He will want those extra few points to pinch over Billy Smith, of course. I mean, as the leader, Smith only 1 point behind him. So the advantage would only extend to 3. And to be honest, we're nearly halfway through the season. I can see this prototype battle between the two of them staying like this all the way to the season's end, and that would be incredible to see. Let's hope that does happen for the neutral. But yeah, with the point system the way it is, it does mean that gaps remain very, very close right till the very end.
Yeah, and I think when we get Dan Neese, obviously not here tonight, but if you get Dan Neese on track, you get Smith, who's in third at the moment, and there's a couple of other drivers that have beaten Cunningham and can take the race to Cunningham. If he starts slipping a few positions down and Ooms maintains his pace and manages to win races, then he could well be in with a shout by the end of the season. You never can tell. It just depends how the points go between the rest of the guys. If Cunningham can just keep hitting those second places, then yeah, it'd be difficult for Ooms to do enough to beat him. But definitely, if Cunningham has to start sharing points with other guys, then yeah, there is a chance for Ooms.
Pfeiffer, the man who went out in qualifying, in GTM qualifying, despite being a pro driver, is now in 12th place in this class. Not sure what the reason for that was doing that, other than a pure mistake. It's not like it's his first appearance this season. He has done a number of others. Only 32nd in the overall GT Championship, with his best result when he managed a 15th position in the overall race at the second race of this championship. On board with him now. Another view to how bumpy it is and what it's like to be a GT driver around here, looking in that rear view camera more times than you're looking through the windscreen, quite possibly. They do come up on you very quickly.
Yeah, with an edge of nervousness, as he just brushed. I'm sure he brushed the wall there as he came out of that corner.
Time. The first man to do that today, and here's another one of them in a Ferrari. Schmidt. Same to Patrick McDaniel though. Trying to make his way down the inside of this is Ryan Robertson, excuse me. And it's not a nice place to be. He just about squeaks around, but dangerous game going side by side through that section. Really wouldn't advise going through at any point through there, but it also costs you a lot of time, so it's very, very painful for all the LMP2s, as that was quite painful for Eric Della Riva, and I think he's come into the pit lane after this bit of contact with the wall. Oh, he has,
yeah, hit the wall on a couple of occasions there, both sides for good measure, and just the field spread out a little bit. It's not quite as busy as it was. The prototypes are just that was a bit of a send again. But you would like to think the GT driver would have seen him at that point. I don't think it was. I don't think it was too opportunistic. I think it was a calculated move, and really should have been able to complete that without incident.
Santana has been in the pit lane already today for damage repair. Let's see if he's going to have to do some more. Oh, which way is he going to go? Comes to a dead stop to decide, as Peterson just decides that this is not safe anymore, and so he's going to come back to the pit lane. Mo Islam was the one he came into contact with, by the way, and he's in 7th place in the pro category at the moment, with Roleski still behind him, although it looks like he's got away with that one. I think you're right though, Islam should have been looking his mirrors a little bit more. See that prototype coming down the inside, but clearly wasn't expecting it, and now he'll have a bit of damage as a result. Still able to hold on to that place. And here's another damage Ferrari. It's been a tale of damage for a lot of these guys, as you expect.
Yeah, and Ooms just stamping his authority back at the front end of the prototypes, and that gap's back out to nearly 7 seconds. So probably just a bit of traffic getting in the way, and just being cautious through some of the tighter parts of the track, as a good driver would be. And Ooms just pulling the lead back out, but Cunningham doing a fantastic job in 2nd place. Looks like Smith's pretty solid in 3rd place as well, after a bit of a battle to get into that 3rd place. He's looking fairly solid there. Don't think there's much he can do about the front two unless they have any sort of incident, but he's looking to bring some solid points home in 3rd place. We've just got round about 9 minutes of the race left, so we are in the final stages of the race, but we've still got some battles going on track, and still some positions to be made up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an Autobahn Sportscar Challenge race without a battle for the higher positions in at least one of the categories, and it looks like we're going to get that in GT Am. Trent Brown coming under pressure from the Audi, Franco Margarella, 23rd in the overall GT, in the overall race itself, and 10th in the GT race, which of course brings with it its own set of points. There are only 1 point apiece at the moment between these drivers. Trent Brown at the moment is going to be gaining 5 of them on Robertson and 6 on O'Keefe. So at the end of the day, especially O'Keefe, who I've noted somebody in the YouTube chat saying that he hates this circuit, damage limitation has been done well there by those two BMWs, especially O'Keefe, who qualified down there. Robertson, bit of a missed opportunity today for him, in my opinion. Came into today 4 points down, would have gained a real hatful if he'd have stayed out of the wars. Looks like he's had some of that damage repaired. He's able to hold off O'Keefe now, but even so, oh, as my camera falls, as it looks like he's had a bit of a missed opportunity today. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that drive from O'Keefe, because he's had a few incidents as well, I think that's a really good drive from him to get back up to 6. And at the moment, he's putting Robertson under pressure as well. So I think I don't think that battle is over, and I think we could see O'Keefe move up another position and take some more points for the championship. But here we've got I'll butcher that name later. Just coming under pressure. It has to be said, Mo Islam just in the background there as the prototype cars just trying to make their way through, and Mo Islam just playing a watching brief on the BMW at the minute. He's trying to stay in touch with it, but he's just sort of getting knocked further and further back at the moment. I think maybe he has got some damage from that contact he had earlier, and just losing a little bit of pace to the BMW.
It seems so. Zaleski's recovered well though from pitting early on, having to come through the field. It's Peterson still in the pit lane, dropping down the order. It's going to be another position for Williams, who's still out there trying to get anything he can from this race. So a number of drivers in this race. It's impossible. 41 in this race even still. Which is, remarkable really. Oh, well, that might be one less. I've just heard damage somewhere going on. The contacts between something. But, either way, it doesn't seem to be one of the leaders by the looks of things at the moment. Because the gaps are staying pretty similar. Although O'Keefe has just got through on Robertson there, that was. And Robertson has been overtaken by his rival O'Keefe. Let's see where this... and this might be possibly a reason for contact. O'Keefe, is he down the inside? Robertson make a mistake somewhere? Oh, Robertson's had a spin of his own. He's nosed it into the barriers here. And he's lost a place to Eric Thomas as well. Not a good day for the 210 after a dominant victory 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. He was just starting to come under a bit of pressure from O'Keefe, because the timing, lap times was telling their own story, and O'Keefe was closing him down and was going to be putting him under a lot of pressure. And I think he's just responded to that pressure and just got a little bit of ambitious with the right foot and just broke the traction and lost the car. But here we've got another battle here now, which is for P5 in the Pro class, and it's all very close here between the Lamborghini and the Audi, and just coming into the dying minutes now, and this is it. There's not going to be any tactics here. It's going to be a case of where that Lambo can make a lunge. He will make a lunge, and he'll try and get that position, that P5 from Paz.
It's going to be difficult for Cup Car to really respond from this point. The Audi looked very good in a straight line there. I don't know if Pace just got a good exit off of turn 2, because we didn't quite see that, but it was certainly easy for him to get down the inside, or down the outside I should say, through turn 3. That's a lap car behind them, by the way, not involved in this fight, and it's not Trent Brown either, who's still got to keep his wits about him here with only 1.5 seconds over Franco Margarella. It's a very, very close margin between the two of them. Trent Brown has only been on the podium once this season in the AM race. So he's going to want to take home this victory. No question about that. And Margarella hasn't got many points at all. in this one. He's only been in the top 20 of the overall race once. Had to do that today and get second in the AM category, although not many points for the AM victory today, since they're 10th in the actual class, which is a little bit further down than you'd expect to see normally. Only just over 3 minutes of the race though remaining though, and Jeffrey Ooms, man who's probably been on the camera least in this whole race, is going to be running out victorious again after basically not having to fight for it. He's had to stay alert throughout this one, because Cunninger has been running in fairly close all day long, but it's not exactly come to a hand-to-hand battle between the two of them.
No, I mean Cunninger, he's doing a sterling job in second place, and as I keep saying, he's going to be just counting those points, realising he's doing a good enough job for the championship, because the drivers will take it round by round, as we were just watching that Smith coming through, I think, in the prototype. But yeah, they take each race round by round. But I think we're at the point in the championship where Cunninger, in the position he's in the championship, will be thinking about that now, and he won't so much be thinking about chasing the race wins that are maybe just out of reach for him with the likes of Ooms up there ahead. So he'll just be happy with that second place. He'll be building consistency is key here, and just score those points, especially when the likes of Dan Neese aren't there scoring points tonight, and he's had a couple of bad rounds, as we've said. So Cunninger can really maybe just stretch that lead out a little bit more.
Absolutely, just under 2 minutes to go now. This battle doesn't look like it's going to go in anywhere. Hugh Copcart won't be able to grab this top 5 from Christopher Pays. Normally see these guys battling around the top 5 position alongside the likes of Mo Islam, and Young Park is also normally here, but he's outside the top 10 today. He hit the wall at some point, say outside the top 10 of the overall standings anyway. He hit the wall a little bit earlier in the race. That caused a bit of a problem for him. Wojciechowski, as I mentioned earlier on, recovering from that earlier pit stop, very early pit stop. He's approaching on all of these guys right now. 7th in the overall races. Oh, Luke Schmidt has had a problem out there. GTM, he's lost that place to Sam, and he's lost his podium in the very final minutes, and he's lost his top 4 position. O'Keefe has got through on him now, so what's happened to O'Keefe?
Yeah, great job for O'Keefe there to be up into 4th place from what looked like a disastrous night early on. But Kopka's really going to have to get his wits about and start defending soon, because that gap behind is down to less than half a second. He's absolutely, the gap is being annihilated, and he's going to be the man under the pressure, and he's not really going to be able to take it to Pez, I don't think, because he's going to spend the remainder of this race defending.
Yeah, he is. Oh look, the final seconds elapsing at the moment. Jeffrey Ooms is he's about to come across the line. I'm not sure. I think he might just make. He is going to make it just before the end. So white flag will be out this time, I hope. I've been through this in the last week, I'll tell you. Anyway, 3.5 seconds. I think Ooms might have been slowing down to try and make that last one less lap there, but realised that he was actually too risky. I think he crossed the line with about 5 seconds to go, and he's only got a 3-second lead. But either way, Cunninger is not letting him go here whatsoever. These two have been the class of the field today by a long way, and Ooms in the end is looks like he's going to run out victorious, as long as he's got enough fuel here. I hope he has. It'll be a disastrous miscalculation if he hasn't.
Yeah, I would like to think the talented guys that they are would have calculated the correct amount of fuel, but you never can tell. But with the distance that these guys ran into the race with before pit stops and things, maybe it's not been quite as heavy on the fuel round here tonight.
Doesn't need that bit of lag just in front of him either, but looks like all of that is going to be negotiated, as he has been negotiating every other obstacle in his way throughout the last hour of this race. The white flag is out, and it will soon be changed to a checkered flag, because Jeffrey Ooms is coming through the final corner now to win in Belle, his 12th Autobahn Sportscar Challenge race victory, and his 2nd in 2 races here for season 11. Rounds 5 and 6 are his, ahead of Carter Cunningham, who ran him close all the way, but will have to settle for second and extend his championship lead over all of his rivals. Billy Smith, the second, will finish third, only 3 points behind Cunningham now in this ever-tightening championship. David Schutt, the top 5 for him ahead of Robert Tinsey. That's a fantastic result for him, since he's started all the way at the back after not being able to qualify. Josh Booth, you saw briefly there, beats Albert Jones by just over 5 seconds in this race. Championship leader coming into today, extending that lead once more, and Trent Brown trying to get himself into this championship conversation, getting a few points over Kevin O'Keefe and a number over Ryan Robertson, but most importantly, his first race victory of the season, as long as he negotiates these final couple of corners with no problems at all. There was one for a prototype. He will have had his heart in his mouth there. All of the nerves can go away now, because he is an Autobahn Sportscar Challenge race winner in season 11 here at Belle. One of the trickiest nights he'll have all season, but it has been worth it. He takes home the victory by 2.5 seconds. Now, for all that got spread out towards the end, all of the gaps were fairly close by the end. 2 seconds, 5.5 and 2.5 in all 3 classes.
Yeah, and one of the surprises for me there, I was going to say, Ewan, is Haley. I don't think he's had the best race this evening. He was a little bit off the pace when I was looking at the lap times, and he's come home in 4th place. It's a solid finish, don't get me wrong, but we're used to seeing Haley battling with those guys up there, but he didn't really seem to be in touch with them for the whole of that race. Once they got away at the start, he just seemed to lose touch with them. So yeah, a little bit disappointing race, I would say, for Haley, that one. He'll be happy with 4th place, I think, but yeah, it would be not his best round there for pace.
Absolutely. As we look at the GTM winners round, with only 2.5 seconds over Margaret Bradley Salmon third, have Kevin O'Keefe in 4th, Luke Schmidt damaged car but trundled home to 5th. Thomas and Ryan Robertson 7th, and Matthew Gotch, who also got damaged in that race, 8th place finish for him. David Power and Eric G. Draper, who finishes in running out the top 10. Not a great day for him by his standards either, as we look at all of those who have problems in this race, including Mark Santana, who pitted very early on in that race. Further down towards further up towards the GT Pro results, it's Ross Booth's 8th Autobahn Sportscar Challenge victory in all-time history, if that's a phrase. He's ahead of Albert Jones and Paul Gibson, who were chasing him all the way but couldn't catch him. Bradley Haley likewise. Christopher Pace clinched the top 5 late on. Mazeski also got past Nikhil Kupkar late as well. They finished ahead of Mo Islam, Puslavonik and Young Park running out the top 10. And it was Jimbo Pfeiffer also finishing 1 lap down. Finally in the prototype field, just over 2 seconds between Jeffrey Ooms and Carter Gunninger. Billy Smith the second, a good 25 seconds back ahead of Vance Bow, and David Schutt recovering well to the top 5. Robert Tinsey finished 6th ahead of Cameron Bidwell, who lost 5 places here today. Unfortunate day for him. Joshua Wolf managed to get 8th ahead of Robert Kansian, and Chris Sherburn running out your top 10. An interesting race, but spread out across the field. Street circuits tend to do this, it's fair to say. And yeah, today was no different. Let's have a quick chat then to some of these drivers. We'll start with Carter Gunninger, who finished 2nd in that race. Only 2 seconds or so at the end there, Carter, but he couldn't quite catch Jeffrey Ooms in that race. How was that one? You were never really battling, apart from very early on in that race. You didn't quite get to battle with Ooms, but you were running him close all the way. How did you feel about that race? Did you just were you feeling a bit helpless maybe about the car in front?
Yeah, I mean, like I guess shame on whoever the league admin is this season for allowing him to jump in mid-season, whatever. But no, that's all good. So I know Jeffrey's a fast driver. I mean, he's a 6K driver, and he definitely shows it. So yeah, I mean, it was coming into this race. I mean, I knew that he was probably going to pull away. Lap times wise, I knew I was about his pace, so I knew that, I mean, yes, he may pull away, but I was going to be heavily relying on traffic there. And I guess it did end up playing my way towards the end of the race, where he got in an incident with Mr. Lacey, which I don't know if that damaged his car or not, but I was able to slowly pull him into my grasp, and just unfortunately though, it just wasn't enough at the end of the race. Again, I can't complain. It is a podium. Still waiting for that win though. And it's just one of those two. I mean, deep down inside, it does kind of hurt a little bit to keep, getting these second places by just a few seconds. It's it's one of those where you always go back and you're like, oh man, if only I didn't do this, if only I didn't do that, I probably would have been up there. But no, I mean, the second's an awesome result, especially at Detroit. I knew it was going to be pretty chaotic with all the traffic and the bumps, which are pretty grueling. So yeah, another consistent finish. Just keep adding on to the list, and I guess I can't complain if I keep getting podiums.
Oh yeah, you're going to be difficult to catch if you keep doing that. It's certainly safe to say. You mentioned street circuit there, chaos and all of that. We replaced Long Beach with Watkins Glen for the next week. So first of all, how was being on a street circuit this week, and are you glad we're not going to be on another one next week?
Yeah, I mean, so I love street circuits. I will admit I did get a little selfish when I was making the schedule, and the guys already know it, that I threw both Belle Isle and Long Beach on there. Just because I do feel like, I mean, street circuits are, it's some may even say they're like the roots of sports car racing, right? So yeah, I mean, Belle Isle, honestly, it was bumpy, sure, but you had quite a bit of room actually to make passes. I had a few sketchy moments here or there, but yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for some street circuits. So in all honesty, I am bummed we're not going to Long Beach anymore. But no, that was one of those executive decisions I made after realizing, okay, well, we've got about 60 cars, and throwing them on tight, narrow circuits like Long Beach and Belle Isle may not necessarily be the greatest idea. So I am glad we're going to Watkins Glen next week, though. It should be interesting. I do have quite a bit of pace there. Just did a 2-hour race there a few weeks ago and ended up finishing third at a pretty high level. So definitely looking forward to Watkins Glen in a week's time this time instead of 2 weeks.
Yeah, we've got to remember that we've moved one forward. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you there. For now, Carter Cunningham, it's been good having you here. But congratulations for second place, and thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, guys.
Here we are, Carter Cunningham, second place overall, and indeed in the LMP2 category as well. Recently joining us, Ross Booth as well, who won the GT Pro race here tonight. Another good performance from you there, Ross. Championship League coming in, Championship League going out as well. Can't have too much complaints about today, and it looked fairly easy from the outside. I'm sure it wasn't for you. How was battling on the street circuit here tonight?
I was really nervous coming into this event here. I usually don't do well at street circuits. I always find the wall somewhere around here, but was able to get the pole somehow, and was able to just monitor and manage the gap to Albert there. The first time through with the LMP2s sort of broke us up there, and then I was just able to manage the gap to the end, and sort of not. You don't have to take as many risks when you're leading up front with a 5-second gap, so.
Absolutely, it does make things a little bit easier. Now, last American circuit on the entire calendar coming up in only 1 week's time in Watkins Glen. How are you feeling about that one? And yeah, are you going to be better suited to the non-American tracks, or are you going to have to be learning some new ones as we go deeper into this championship?
The rest of the tracks I'm pretty familiar with. Next week at Watkins is going to be really good for me. I really like that track. I'm really fast there, so I'm looking forward to that one, and it should be a lot of fun.
It certainly should be. We look forward to seeing you there. For now, though, congratulations on the win, Ross, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
There we are, Ross Booth of the winning car from GT Pro there. And we'll speak to the man trying to run him down all throughout that race. Albert Jones, P2. Couldn't quite get there in the end. Welcome to the Booth, Albert. Good to have you here. In the end, second place for you. Ross Booth eluded you in that race, I should say. Was it a bit of a frustrating race for you? Couldn't quite catch the leader, or did you kind of accept from a long way out that you weren't quite going to be able to get there?
Yeah, hey, thanks for having me, guys. Early, we kind of got separated when LMP2 traffic started coming through, and we were all running similar pace, so there really wasn't making up any ground unless somebody made a mistake, and Ross didn't make any mistakes, so couldn't catch him.
Absolutely, and how was the traffic around here as well? It was especially chaotic. You mentioned it split you guys up through the first run, but how was it for the rest of it? It didn't really seem to calm down as far as I was concerned, and not many cars actually retired as I was expecting, so it stayed very busy from the outside. But what was it like getting overtaken all the time?
I would say for the most part, it really wasn't too bad. There were a couple instances where it was a little sketchy and lost some time because Paul was right on my heels the whole time. And again, same thing where once that separation happened, it kind of gave me a little breathing room because we were all running pretty similar pace. So it kind of worked out for me in that aspect, but it wasn't too bad overall.
Absolutely, and second place is not a bad result either, so congratulations on that. We'll let you go now and enjoy that, but thanks for coming to talk to us.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
We are Albert Jones, second place in this 60 Minutes at Detroit. Now, one final interview, since we've got one man still waiting for us. We'll jump back to LMP2 very quickly to have a quick chat with Robert Kansian in this one. Ninth place for you in this one. Robert, how was the battle on the streets of Belle here today? It was chaotic from our point of view. How was it from yours?
It was chaotic, but it was actually a pretty good race overall. Like, I think I was just talking to Carter, and a lot of cars didn't even have a 0x incident, actually. This race is just about, this track, it's stay off the walls and keep the car for as long as you can. And it's my hometown race. I have an office, right on the riverfront here, so I look at the track every day. So I was like, okay, better not bin it on lap 5. So it was a good race.
That is very cool, actually. And talking of your season so far, we haven't actually got to talk to you very much so far this season. So how do you feel it's going? We're 6 rounds in now. We're nearly halfway, for goodness sake. It's crept up on me, to be quite honest. How are you feeling about the first half of your season and how it's gone?
It's been a bit disappointing because last week I was doing, or 2 weeks ago, Road America, I was doing pretty good, and taken out by just GT traffic. Things happen, but overall I think it's been a pretty good season. Carter's doing a really good job, and some of my teammates have been having a good run too here. Ross with another win, plus next week it's Watkins and Glen, so he may get another win there. It's his best track, so a lot of really good drivers this year, and overall it's been pretty good. So hopefully this next half of the season here I'll pick it up a little bit and put a couple more consistent finishes in. So just want to keep going out there, and thanks to you guys for the broadcast. It's been a good season so far.
Yeah, no problem. It's been very, very entertaining indeed, and we hope to see you still out there for the second half of the season. For now, though, Robert, thanks very much for coming to talk to us, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Here we are, Robert Kansian from the 9th position in this LMP2 race and overall here at Belle Isle here today. Well, that's it from us here, Steve. It's been Belle Isle street racing here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for the first time in this series, this championship's history. We've come to this circuit. I think some of these guys, as I mentioned, going to be very glad we're not visiting another street circuit in 1 week time. But I have to say, I've enjoyed tonight. It's been a good race, despite, against the odds, some might say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a good race tonight, considering it was a street circuit. We were maybe expecting worse incidents or more incidents than we got. It was relatively good. There was a few mistakes made here and there, but I think the majority of the field will be glad that one's ticked off, done. Let's not visit another street circuit this season and move on. And I bet you there's a lot of guys looking forward to Watkins Glen. That's an awesome track, and we've it's a popular circuit, so I think there'll be a lot of drivers looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we've had many bumps indeed tonight at Detroit, but we're going to have none next, because recently resurfaced Watkins Glen is coming up, so make sure you join us for that one. Not in 2 weeks time, remember. Don't go doing off and booking yourself somewhere else. Come back and join us again 7th of February, only 1 week's time, 9:05 ET. As always, we're racing at Watkins Glen, of course, but that's not all here at the Virtual Grid Network. We're coming back in a couple of days time on the 2nd of February, just on Wednesday, 7 p.m. ET for the Coast to Coast Racing League's hometown heroes at Volusia Speedway. So make sure you join us for that broadcast. in a couple of days' time, though. For now, though, from me, Ewan O'Leary, and Steve Proudly alongside me, here from Detroit, it's goodbye for now.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.